Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the town. We are your effervescent hosts, your neighborhood-friendly Kiwi touch from Middle-earth, New Zealand.
And Patty, Regency romance enthusiast, currently writing her high vibe and loved era. Come get nerdy with us as we play Fandom Alchemy.
Super ironically, though, I've turned up today to record in my Harry Potter pajamas.
Yes, it was serendipity.
Yeah.
Serendipity.
Now we must make haste into Hogwarts Castle.
Yep, we are all standing on the platform at 9 3/4.
Everybody
Who's running through the brick wall first, Tash?
All right, I'm going to pull up my dice app. We're going to jump into our first couple. Ha ha! Starting out strong with number 3. Brother number 3.
Okay, that is Colin.
And Penelope.
Penelope. And you and I talking off, like, before we started, we both unanimously agreed he's a Gryffindor because he is White Knight syndrome at its finest.
He is the epitome of White Knight syndrome. I mean, I could definitely see an argument for Hufflepuff
because he's so loyal.
I think what he values at the core is like protecting others. I think he is very
a purpose, like he's a sense of purpose, like having a purpose in life,
very driven.
That's very Gryffindor too.
Yes. So bravery, courage, determination, and chivalry. That boy is determined. He has spent 3 seasons leading up to getting his girl.
And our king of consent is going to be the most chivalrous dude on the planet.
Oh my lord. They have a Myers-Briggs
Harry Potter
crossover. So for myself, who's an ENFJ Gryffindor, is passionate, idealistic, driven, playful, energetic, and single-minded, which is very, very much me.
Okay, so what is ENFJ Ravenclaw? Because that's me. Ravenclaws can't be ENFJ because they're not emotion driven.
I don't think it's even like a
I'm unique.
There's
I'm an emotional smarty pants. That's all.
So, for
I value cleverness.
The most common Ravenclaw personality types is ENTJ, ENTP, INTJ, INTP, and ISTJ.
Oh, yes. ISTJ is very Ravenclaw.
Yes. I know some dragons that would agree. Okay, so yeah, definitely Gryffindor. I think secondary house would be Hufflepuff, but to his core, he is very much a Gryffindor.
Okay. Are we going to continue on with him, or are we going to say what Penn's house is?
I think we'll continue and we'll do them individually. So, who would be Colin's spouse in the Harry Potter universe?
Harry Potter's spouse? So I think his spouse would be Luna. He likes a quirky girl and he's very protective, so he would want to protect her.
I see him as a Ginny.
I can see Ginny too. That was like who I thought of first, but like putting some thought into it, like Ginny can fend for herself, and I think he would struggle. I mean, she is
Ginny
redheaded.
Learns to fend for herself by book 7, but in the very early days, she was very meek, very quiet, like very Penelope coded, especially book Penelope. They're very, very similar.
Very similar.
They were both in love with the male leads from the get-go, you know, but it was siblings' best friend or whatnot.
Well, and that's true. Yeah. Like, it's still a friends to lovers kind of thing because,
Yeah, so I'm going Ginny. Patronus. Ooh, okay. For Colin.
And Patronus is like what brings you, it like protects you, but it's like a joy thing, like a happiness thing. Because you're thinking of your most happy thought to create it.
Well, not just that, it's kind of what your spirit animal would be essentially. So a Patronus is your a lot of people describe a Patronus
Colin's
as,
Patronus would be golden retriever.
your Patronus is a spell that takes the shape of an animal, and that animal protects you against dementors. It can also pass messages.
Yeah, and they use it against dementors a lot because you really have to think of
you have to put your soul into
Peter
it.
Pan. It's kind of like Peter Pan flying. You got to think a happy thought.
Poor memory happiness.
Yeah.
Patronus for me. And it would be something in the dog family.
I'm telling you, because in all the scenes in season 1 too, and that's not a golden retriever, but every time Penn is around him when he's sitting there with Marina, and him and Marina are talking but not really talking, Penn is down on the floor playing with that dog. Yeah. I think Colin wanted to be the dog.
maybe that's his Patronus, the dog from.
Anyway, he would be season 1 dog.
He's season 1 dog. Yeah, okay.
And a mix of golden retriever.
Okay, Boggart. What would be his Boggart? His biggest fear. So a Boggart takes the physical formation of your biggest fear in life. So for Neville Longbottom, that took the image of Snape dressed in Neville's grandma's clothing, because Neville was equally afraid of his grandma and Snape.
Yes.
Portia Portia's gonna take the cake here, but Portia in which iteration?
Well, I think his Boggart would actually be Penelope being turned away.
Married to Dabbling.
Well, no, I think being turned away by the Queen. Because I don't think he ever truly was afraid of Dabbling.
No, because a Boggart has to be a physical image, not a scene happening. So if
Penelope being out, or not the Queen not happy with her, could have been a Penelope with no head.
Well, okay, that works, but
drawn and quartered Penelope, like, okay. They still did drawing and quartering then, didn't they?
Yeah, nearly headless Nick turns into nearly headless Penelope, except she's not nearly headless, she is headless.
She completely headless.
She joins the headless hunt.
Well, and I think that would be it, because the Queen Charlotte in real history was a very cruel, to people that thwarted her or broke the law or whatever. Like, she was a big proponent of sending people to the Americas, very harsh, sending them to Australia. But she has, I think, the most kills. Biggest body count of her kills.
Body count.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a history teacher.
I've got to do my Boggart still.
What would you think? What would his Boggart be?
A bee. The cutest little Boggart in all of history.
I think most Bridgerton siblings could say a bee.
Yeah.
Well, the boys anyway. We don't know of any women that were allergic, but we do know of 2 men.
In the book, it was Eloise who watched her father die.
Yeah.
Yes. It would definitely be without a doubt Violet's Boggart.
Well, and I think for most of the Bridgerton siblings, pre-finding their love of their life, most of them would be bee, because they didn't understand that it was an allergy that caused that. Like, they just think every bee is going to kill you. But as adventurous as he is, I kind of feel like he probably has been stung by a bee already, and he's just like, oh, it doesn't affect me, like, because he's been the one that's gone out in the world, and he's the more rough and tumble kid. I think that his Boggart would be like Penelope, especially after they're married. Penelope being sentenced to death, so headless Penelope, and him being outcast, and he has to leave England.
You're getting too deep into it.
But I mean, his biggest fear would be Penelope dead and him separated from his family.
Yeah.
Or him in prison with headless Penelope, or them both headless.
Yeah. All right, let's think
them both headless, and Portia now takes over as the guardian of Little Lord Featherington. That's his biggest fear.
Oh. That's my biggest fear. Okay, what would you say would be his favorite class?
I think he would be the care of magical creatures just because of what could happen. It's adventurous.
Whereas I would have said flying classes because it would give him the ability to up until the 5th or 6th year where you learn to apparate, but I think that's a class in itself.
Yeah,
Maybe
apparition.
Yeah, but I think up until then it would have been flying and then apparition, because both of those would allow him to travel more freely. Let's move over to Penelope. House is going to be a little bit more difficult because a Hogwarts house isn't necessarily who you are. It
like
is
what you
actually
value.
what you value most, because if we see in book 1 and movie 1, which for the Americans is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but for the rest of the world, we have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. He nearly gets placed into Slytherin. That was going to be the Sorting Hat's first choice, but he took into consideration Harry and his wants and what he valued most, which was honor and to do the right thing and to stand up for others. Like, his first act that he does when he goes to Hogwarts is to stand up to Draco Malfoy to protect Ronald Weasley, even though they just met. So that is why he got placed into Gryffindors, because he valued, that the most. So for Penelope, I think that she is definitely a Ravenclaw because she values above all else her intelligence. And she even, not that she was going to give up Colin for it, but she definitely stood up to Colin in order to maintain
and
yes, because she was saying, yes, I love you, but I also love my mind just as much, and I'm not choosing between you. So for me, she values her intelligence above all else.
Yep.
No notes.
No notes. I agree. She's Ravenclaw because I see a lot of me in Penelope, and I'm Ravenclaw. So
yes, spouse is going to be an interesting one. Who have you picked?
You're acting like I thought this out. We're winging this.
I know.
Penelope's Harry Potter spouse.
Let's pretend that they are the same age. We'll put that little caveat in. Lupin. Lupin is the closest iteration of Colin. Because when we think about Lupin, okay, but think about Lupin as
I was thinking another. I have another angle, but yeah.
When we think about Lupin in his flashbacks, he was always kind of the level-headed one in the group. He was always like trying to do the right thing, which is why Dumbledore placed him as a head boy, because he needed someone to try to rein in Sirius and James, and I feel like Sirius and James are the Benedict and Anthony of it all.
And I would say Neville Longbottom. Now hear me out.
I was going to choose him first.
Yeah, Neville Longbottom, because whereas Harry is the boy who lived and everybody thinks he is the chosen one and everything, Neville also fits the...
Neville was supposed to be the chosen one. Well, equally.
Yeah, Neville also fits the prophecy, and in the end, he ends up being super courageous, and he slays Nagini. Yeah, he slays Nagini, and I mean, he turns out to be super badass, right? But he's not main character energy, and I think in Penelope's world, Colin is not main character energy in her eyes. In Bridgerton's, Anthony is main character energy. So I think if Harry was the Anthony character, the main character energy, then Neville would be the Colin. Like he's kind of like,
I feel like Lupin is the Colin Lupin is the Neville of that generation. What would be Penelope's Patronus?
A horse.
I know mine.
A horse.
No.
Yes.
It's a duck.
No, and the reason I say a horse is because the day she fell in love, he fell off a horse. So that is her happy place. Like that is her most happy thing is a horse.
I think when I think of Penelope and Colin, I think duck.
True.
So
or a swan.
You know, yes, but you know how it's always from the Friends reference, you are my lobster. It's you are my duck.
You are my ducky. Yeah.
You are my ducky.
And I said it that way for a reason.
I know. I'm aware.
But yes, I still say horse because I think that whenever she thinks of Colin Bridgerton, she thinks of him tumbling off of a horse into the mud.
I can definitely see that.
And it's a galloping horse that rears.
And did you know that your Patronus can actually change in your lifetime if you have like a great love or a great heartbreak? Like Snape's changed into a doe to represent Lily, not Luna. Tonks is changed after falling in love with Lupin to be a wolf for that reason. Boggart. The only reason I chose a duck over a horse, because I did think of the horse originally, but a horse is a very strong,
I think Pen has a lot of joy in her, so I think she would be able to produce a strong Patronus.
I just thought that ducks and feathers and quills.
I think the duck would be the duck or swan. A swan Patronus, because swans are
ferocious.
Bastards. Yeah.
They look cute and pretty, but like they will destroy your soul. Like
they will.
They are. Okay, we'll change it to a swan then. I'm happy with swan.
We'll go swan. Yeah, we'll meet in the middle at swan. The middle of a horse and a duck is swan.
We're just out here making ourselves some chimeras. Boggart.
I would say Cressida dressed as her mother.
No notes. Perfection. What would be Penelope's favorite class? This is a hard one.
No, it's not. I don't think it is. And isn't it with McGonagall, it's transfiguration or whatever?
Transfiguration, yes.
I think for her it'd be transfiguration, because if she could transfigure into stuff, nobody would know she was present and she'd get all the gossip. Nobody knew that McGonagall was the cat, and they all said their stuff, and she's like, then she turned into herself and they're like, crap. Like that would be Penelope. She would just be chilling. Everybody be like, hey, when did they get a cat?
She also has just such a thirst for knowledge in general, not just of gossip. Yeah. Like I think
maybe she'd be like a Hermione and she would just love every class, because I could also see her digging Polyjuice Potion.
I can 100% see her begging Professor McGonagall for a time turner so that she can take every class possible. I think Hermione's was more because she wanted to have the top grades and everything, not because she had
she was a muggle.
Knowledge. Yes, but I think
she had to prove herself because she was a muggle. I think her and Eloise both would want the time turner to be able to learn everything they could learn, because they both loved just knowing things. I was just thinking what plays into her business the most. Like if she like imagine if, Colin's going to go to Cressida to say something and she shows up as somebody Cressida trusts, or that, maybe goes in there as her dad and was like, I forbid you do this. You are not Whistledown. Right.
Okay. We are one down.
Once again, thank you for listening to the musings of two mad women.
Yours truly, Tash the Kiwi.
And Lady Patty.
It's gonna be a thing.
We gotta have special snacks. We gotta have some wine. This is our couple, guys. This is the ones, we love them.